Hi guys, it's Steph here from the Novelty Corner. Welcome back to my channel today. I'm here with my weekly wrap up from the 30th of April to the 6th of May. And this week I read a total of 7 books. But before anyone goes, well, Steph, what were you on? One of them was a picture book, one of them was a middle grade book, one of them was a novella, the rest were full-length novels, but having those smaller books helped. I read a total of 2,132 pages, and that brings my reading total up to 86 books for this year so far. And a word on the picture books. I only count the picture books that I receive for review or picture books that I have never read before in my yearly total because of reasons. But I do. That works for me. The first book that I read this week was Peter Darling by Austen Chand, and this is a novella that is a retelling and extension of the Peter Pan story, and it was just beautiful. It is one of those books that I'm still thinking about, having finished it a week ago, and I'm still drawn to this idea of I just want to go back and read passages of it. I read it on my Kindle app on my iPad, and I've constantly been going back and just rereading certain passages and certain scenes because it really stuck with me. What's really different with Peter Darling is that in this story, Peter is a trans boy, which that part of the story, I have to admit, I didn't understand as much, and that sort of had to evolve as you read the story. And it's only really short too. It's only about 160 odd pages, so that side of the story probably wasn't as well developed as the rest of the book, but it was still a really integral part of it. The main bulk of the story is Peter Pan returning to Neverland after he's been away and looking at this idea of, you know, who is the actual villain in Peter Pan, and what are the motivations that Peter Pan and Hook and all the other characters have for behaving the way they do. There is, of course, the relationship between Peter Pan and Hook, which develops throughout the story, and I know that a lot of people, Peter Pan and Hook, no. It was actually so well done. It was beautiful and heartbreaking, and oh my gosh, I don't even have words to describe it. It was just really stunning, and I can't wait to see more of Austen Chand's work because it was just absolutely wonderful to read. This one I will probably reread this year because it's a super quick and easy read, and I'm in love with it. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I finished this week was Polaris by Mindy Arnett, which is the second book in the Avalon series. Being the second book in a series, I'm not going to talk too much about it because I don't want to, give away spoilers. But suffice to say that Jeff Seagrave and his crew are now on the run from ITA. They need to unravel the mystery that is Cora's DNA and find a way to stop the ITA's power hold on the universe. It is a young adult science fiction book. It was a really good adventure. It was really fun. It was nice to see how the characters develop. No one in here is perfect. They all make mistakes. They're all very flawed, but they all have to find a way to work together and make the best of a really bad situation. I really enjoyed this duology. I thought it was just, a nice fun read. I gave Polaris 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next, I read The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, which is a very well-known book. I enjoyed it, but honestly, I'm still thinking about this one. I gave it 3.5 stars straight after reading it. I'm not sure if I want to go higher yet. I have to let this one sort of sink in for a while. In The Handmaid's Tale, we follow Offred, who is a handmaid living in a dystopian world which is ruled and highly regulated by men. And the handmaids are basically women, a group of women whose sole purpose is to breed. So they are sent out to wealthy and prominent families to be handmaids to the men of the family to produce more children. If she doesn't do this, she risks being hanged or being sent to live out on the outer edges of society where radiation has permeated the land. It's not until the end that you truly unravel exactly what is going on. I liked the writing style. I liked the character of Offred. I liked how it one thing I will say, it does jump around in time a lot, and I don't mind that, but some people find that really off-putting sometimes, as you get glimpses of her life before all of these changes, because she was around before this world suddenly went to hell and everything changed, and then she was swept up in it. But I don't know, something about it didn't sit quite right with me, and maybe it's just the topic, and I don't know. I'm gonna think on it. Ask me again in a couple of weeks. Next, I read A Court of Wings and Ruin because we knew that was gonna happen. I loved it. I did. It is not a perfect book. There are things in it that frustrate me and drive me a bit bonkers, but I do love it, and I love it because of the characters. And I think I've said it before, I love character-driven books. I can forgive weak plotting if the characters and the relationships are on point, and they are in this one. For better and for worse, they're on point for it. I honestly, this is the better of Sarah J Maas's two series. I'm not saying that I love this book because I love Sarah J Maas's work. I don't, because the Throne of Glass series is really bothering me at the moment. I loved it, I did. And I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Obviously, can't go too much into it if you haven't read the series, although most people here have. At the end of A Court of Mist and Fury, Feyre went back to the Spring Court and left everyone in suspense going, oh my god, what's going on? And we pick up right where we left off as Feyre begins to hatch a plan to escape from the Spring Court back to the Night Court. It sort of just goes from there as the armies of Highburn start to encroach on Prithia, and our heroes, for better or worse, have to begin to prepare for war. I'm actually going to film a spoiler-full feelings video, hopefully on Wednesday, but definitely this week. And I'll probably focus more on the characters because, yeah, the plot was good. There were a lot of twists and turns in it, and I enjoyed that aspect, and I enjoyed the magic, and I enjoyed how Sarah J Maas brought in a whole lot of characters that we had seen throughout the entire series, and they brought them back in and wove them into the story that way. The thing that hooked me, the thing that kept me reading, was all of the characters, main characters, side characters. That was what I really, really loved about this book. I did give it 5 out of 5 stars. It is not an unconditional 5 out of 5 stars. There are things in it that I didn't like. You have books that, even though there are flaws in them, even though there are things that you question, you love. And this was one of them. So I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm just going to admit that, you know, I know that nothing's perfect in this, but what it made me feel was enough for me to go, no, this is one of my favorite books that I've read this year so far. And that's okay. Next, I read Star of Deltora, Book 1, Shadows of the Master by Emily Rodda. This is a book from my school library. This is a middle grade fiction book which takes place in the Deltora universe, but is an entirely new series. Long story short, I went to a reading conference for teachers last week, and this was one of the books that they were talking about. It was a conference on using rich literature with children. There was an excerpt from this book which was shortlisted last year, I believe, and I thought, oh, I really like that excerpt, and I like the language used in it, and I haven't read Emily Rodda's books for a very, very long time. I'm going to pick that up. I actually used it as an activity with some grade 3-4 students that I was working with this week, and they really enjoyed it and they really wanted to pick it up afterwards. Essentially, it is the story of Britta, who wants to become a trader like her father before her. While she was younger, those dreams could have become a reality. However, her father's quest to find the Staff of Tyr left those dreams shattered as his quest ended in blood and terror, and basically his family had to move away and live in shame and live anonymously as a result. In order to get back aboard the Star of Deltora, which was her father's ship, Britta must enter the competition to become the apprentice for the trader Roslin. The trader Roslin is in charge of Del's trading fleet, and it is considered to be an honor to work for the trader Roslin. Thus begins this story, which is purely a contest between Britta and the other entrants to see who can actually earn a spot into the main competition for apprentice. This book was okay. I think I gave it about a 3 out of 5 stars. I'm curious to see what happens next in the series, so I will pick up the other 2 books and give those a read. I'm most intrigued by Britta's father, whose story bookends the book. I'm curious to see how his story overall affects Britta's story. Overall, 3 out of 5 stars. A good middle grade series. I don't think it's as good as some of her other work. If I'm remembering them correctly, there were some books that I really loved, but that's okay. It's probably a setup book. All I can do is read the next few books in the series and see what I think. The next book I read was the picture book Do Not Lick This Book by Iden Ben Barrack and Julian Frost, and this was sent to me for review by Allen and Unwin, so thank you very much to them. This is a non-fiction picture book for children, and it is hilarious. It is all about microbes. The title of the book is Do Not Lick This Book, and down here it says it's full of germs. And this is a really fun way of introducing kids to the idea of germs and how germs travel and where they live and the different types of germs and microbes that you can find. It's also full of really cool microscope images of things up close, which look awesome and also surreal at the same time. And it gives kids lots of examples. So they say, this is Min, but Min's a microbe and she's very small, and 3.5 million of her would fit on this dot. That's something that's really hard for kids to conceptualize, and it's still hard for them to conceptualize this way, but it gives them idea of just how tiny these microbes are. The illustrations are really cute and easy to understand. Again, you get really cool images. By the way, this is a tooth. But basically, it's just really fun. It's really cute, and kids would really enjoy this because it's a fun way of learning about something that's not really pleasant, really. Let's talk about germs. Ugh. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I love this. I can't wait to use it with kids. And the last book that I read this week was released by Patrick Ness. This was a proof copy that was sent to me by Dimmicks in exchange for a review. I absolutely adored this. This was just wonderful. It is a young adult contemporary book with hints of a bit of magical realism because there is a ghost in this story. The ghost story I didn't quite understand right until the end, and I'm fully able to admit that. I was thinking, what on earth is going on? But this is the story of Adam Thorne, who is the son of a local pastor, and he's having a really bad day. It's a Saturday, it's summer, one of his friends is going away, and he spends his whole day leading up to this moment, and yet it is filled with other small moments that completely change his life, and it makes him feel like his life is about to fall apart and fall to pieces. It is also an Own Voices LGBTQIA+ book. Being the pastor's son is not easy for Adam when he is gay and he has no intention of letting his parents try and persuade him otherwise, thank goodness. I was reading it, and there are times where his parents say really problematic things to him and his family. But you know where they're coming from. They are religious and that is their belief. Whether it's right or wrong is not the issue. The fact that they say it to their son is an issue, and you have to be aware of that going into it. But Patrick Ness handles it beautifully. Adam is such a strong character. He is human and he is flawed, and he wants to be the best version of himself. And so he tries. And he tries to be accommodating of everyone else around him until finally he reaches a breaking point. And this is about him being able to find release to be himself, and it was just gorgeous. And can I just say that Adam and his best friend Angela are the funniest friendship combination I have read about in ages. I was just laughing out loud the entire time that I was reading their conversations. It was just wonderful, and I'm so glad that Adam had an Angela in his life because she was amazing. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Highly recommend it. Definitely pick it up. I don't have the best track record with Patrick Ness books, but this one I absolutely loved. So that's it. Those are the books that I read this week, plus one more little short novella on top, but it's an ebook. Let me know down in the comments what you have been reading this week. What has stood out for you? Any new authors, any new books that you've picked up that you might not have otherwise? I'd love to hear about them. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye.